The snow had stopped falling by the time Emily and her husband Mark reached Estes Park. The Stanley Hotel rose ahead like a pale ghost in the white mountain light, its windows glowing gold against the storm. It was supposed to be a retreat, a quiet week away from the city, the noise and the strange, unfinished grief that followed them since Mark's accident. They needed stillness. They needed sleep. They needed a place where the past would stop knocking. Inside, the lobby smelled of old pine and polish. A grandfather clock ticked like a heart too big for the room. The clerk smiled too politely when he handed them the brass key on a loop of red ribbon. "Room 217, he said. "She's our most historic room." His paws hung in the air like a thread you're scared to pull. Emily almost asked what he meant, but Mark squeezed her hand. "Vacation. Let it be easy." They wheeled one suitcase each down the long red-carpeted hall. The lamps hummed softly, and portraits of people long dead watched them pass with that calm, painted stare. Every door looked the same, but the air around 217 felt thicker, like the building was holding its breath. Emily pressed her ear against the wood out of a sudden, playful dare to herself. A faint hiss greeted her, not mechanical, not the sigh of pipes, but a breathy string of almost words, as if someone whispered from the other side and wanted her to lean closer. She straightened with a quick smile. "Bad insulation," she said, more to the corridor than to Mark. They unpacked in silence. The radiator clanged like a dropped pan. The light over the bed flickered once, twice, as if blinking awake. Mark laughed it off, kissed her temple and went for ice. Emily stayed behind. Alone, she noticed the wallpaper pattern, small red roses, seemed to twist a fraction in the lamplight, as if the vines leaned toward her the longer she stared. She stepped closer to the vent above the dresser and heard a sigh so faint she felt it more than heard it, like breath on the back of her neck. "You came back," the air said. Emily watched her reflection in the black TV screen. "Hello?" she tried, heart tapping fast. Only the wind answered, dragging its fingers across the windows. When Mark returned with a rattling bucket, he found her by the wall, pale and still. "Testing for ghosts already?" he joked. Emily forced a smile and didn't tell him about the whisper. "Not yet. Vacation. Let it be easy." They kept the lamp on and read for a while. Past midnight, the building settled with slow cracks and pops. Emily clicked off her book light and closed her eyes. She dreamed of a woman carrying a tray, a blue dress brushing a wooden floor, a voice saying, "Humming keeps the dark away." When she woke, the voice was still in the room. Footsteps paced above them, steady, unhurried. She reached out to shake Mark awake, but her hand met only the cool rumple of sheets. Gone. The bathroom light made a thin gold blade under the door. She called his name once, twice. The footsteps stopped so suddenly the silence felt like a drop from a height. Then a new sound replaced them, a measured tapping in the wall beside her headboard. Tap, 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 spaced like a metronome. Emily slid out of bed, every nerve listening. The tapping matched her steps as she crept toward it, shifting along the wall as if something inside followed her from the other side. "Mark?" she tried again, softer. From within the wall came a woman's voice, soft and filmy with static, like a radio station just out of reach. "He shouldn't have left you alone." The bulb above the bed flared bright enough to turn the room white and then exploded with a sharp pop. Glass sprinkled the comforter like salt. Darkness fell so completely she could hear it. Something brushed her arm, light, cool, nothing but the shape of a touch. She stumbled to the bathroom and flung open the door. Empty. Except the mirror trembled in its frame. Breath fogged across the glass even though the air was cold. Letters bloomed in the frost as if written from behind. "Stay." The hall light under the door pulsed once and steadied. Mark's voice came from the bedroom doorway, sleepy, guilty, still hoarse from the winter air. "Power blip. Why's the light out?" She turned to him, relief breaking into a dozen pieces that didn't quite fit back together. Over his shoulder, the wall seemed to breathe, in and out, the faintest pulse as if the plaster had a chest and the room a heartbeat. Emily blinked and it was still. She told herself it was the light playing tricks. They picked glass off the comforter together. Mark kept saying sorry, in a way that meant for more than a bulb. He'd gone to the bathroom because the throbbing in his leg from the accident liked to make itself known right when quiet finally came. Emily wanted to ask if the pain was back like before, the mean way that turned him into someone who wanted to walk it off alone at 3 a.m. She wanted to say they weren't alone in the room. Instead she said, "It's fine," and made her smile steady. The desk phone rang, a jangle too loud for the hour. Emily jumped. Mark laughed and lifted the receiver. "Front desk," he said into the air, but his face stilled. He listened for 3 long seconds, put the phone down without speaking, and looked at her. Wrong number? Emily asked. No one there. He tried to shrug it away. Happens in old places. They slept with the bathroom light on. Emily dreamed again of the woman in blue, but now the hallway was flooded with water and the woman's shoes squeaked as she hurried, humming because humming keeps the dark away. A shadow followed her, moving along the ceiling like a stain. The tray carried a key, a spool of red ribbon, and a folded note with Emily's name in careful ink. The woman looked over her shoulder at Emily, not surprised to see her, only tired. Don't let them in, the woman mouthed. Then the ceiling buckled and the water roared down and Emily woke with her breath stuck. Morning came hard and bright. Colorado sun found every speck of dust and made them gold. Mark pulled the curtains and whistled low. Clear day, he said like a promise. They went into town for coffee and a plan to be normal. By noon they were laughing at a dumb t-shirt in a souvenir shop. By 2 they were eating too sweet fudge and arguing about whether elk looked like they were frowning on purpose. The hotel became what it was from the parking lot, pretty and old and harmless in the day. Back in 217 the radiator wore a different voice, a softer cluck. The room smelled faintly of lemons and something like old roses. Housekeeping had straightened the bed and left a paper triangle on the toilet paper roll. Emily found the mirror clean and bright, her face normal in it, only a little tired around the eyes. On the nightstand, though, lay a brass key on a length of red ribbon. It hadn't been there before. Emily pinched the air above it, as if she could pick the strangeness up without touching it. A rectangle of the wood beneath was paler, like something had rested there for a long time, leaving its shape in history. The key teeth were small and mean. The bow was ornate with a tiny flower shape punched clean through. No tag. No note. Front desk left it? Mark guessed when she showed him. For the closet? He tried it in the wardrobe. No fit. Tried the bathroom. No fit. Maybe the desk? Maybe don't force it, Emily said. The ribbon looked like the one on their room key, only fresher, like it hadn't learned how to fade yet. They walked the grounds at sunset. The hotel was a white ship on a red ocean of carpet inside and winter grass out front. The mountains sat back a little as if giving the building space to do whatever it did. Emily took pictures of the light catching in window panes. When she looked at them on her phone, a streak of pale showed in one frame, long and human, crossing the second floor. She told herself it was her own reflection moving. They ate in the dining room. The waiter had a silver ring in his left ear and a voice like he'd been told to speak softly and never stopped. When Emily asked, gentle as she could, whether 217 was really that historic, the waiter smiled the way the clerk had. We like our stories, he said. Some are true. He set down a tiny dessert with 2 spoons as if to say, let the sweet be the last thing. Back in the room they kept both lamps on. The TV murmured a late movie. Mark dozed with his hand around her ankle, a habit from a hospital she didn't want to remember. Around 1, the hall settled into the slow quiet that makes you think you can hear other people's thoughts through the walls. Around 2, the temperature dipped like something opened a door and forgot to close it. Around 3, the building breathed in and didn't quite breathe out. Emily woke with that quick snap from a falling dream. Her mouth was dry. She sat up to reach for water and saw that the bathroom door was open a few inches. The light was off, but the mirror caught the glow from the bedside lamp and threw a soft square back into the room. The square quivered. For a second she thought the mirror was full of water again. Then she understood. Letters were forming on the glass. Not breath this time, but the faintest runnels, like clear liquid had been dragged there by an invisible finger. Don't. She nudged Mark. He woke fast and then slow, the way people do when they don't want to. What's wrong? Look. She pointed, but the letters were already thinning, sliding into nothing. Mark rubbed his face. And we're both tired. It's altitude. It's everything. He stood and went to the bathroom, turning on the light like an act of faith. See? Clean. He wiped the mirror with a towel anyway and left the light on because neither of them wanted it off now that it was on. Where did you go last night? Emily asked as casually as she could. Bathroom. Twice. That's all. He didn't look at her when he said it. What did the phone say? He paused. There wasn't anyone. What did you hear? He thought about lying then didn't. Humming. They lay side by side, not touching because touching acknowledges fear. The radiator clicked to itself. Somewhere above, floorboards gave one slow groan. The vent over the dresser exhaled a breath that smelled like lemon and old roses and something iron, the ghost of a room that had been here before this one. Emily closed her eyes and listened hard. Under the building's old conversation, she heard a woman's voice, very faint, singing a lullaby she didn't know but almost recognized. It was sweet and off-key in the way real people sing to themselves. She wanted to follow it like following a ribbon into fog just to see where it ended. A soft knock came from inside the closet. What? Twice? 3 times. Mark sat up so fast the bed sighed. No, he said, to the room or himself she couldn't tell. He walked to the closet and put his hand on the knob. He looked back at her. It's the building, he said. Old wood. The brass key with the red ribbon on the nightstand winked in the lamplight, as if it had changed position a hair. Emily didn't remember putting it there at that angle. She swallowed and nodded toward the key without meaning to. Mark followed her eyes, frowned, and picked it up. We should turn it in at the desk in the morning. Not now, Emily said. Her voice sounded too loud to her own ears. Just leave it. The knock came again, softer, like polite company. Mark opened the closet door. Coats. The ironing board. A smell like cedar. He laughed, shaky, and then stopped laughing because the sound didn't feel like it belonged to him. He closed the door carefully. The phone rang. They both stared at it as if it had grown teeth. The sound was too bright for 3 in the morning. Mark lifted the receiver 2 inches, as if any more would be a kind of agreement. He pressed it to his ear and didn't speak. Emily watched his face drain. He swallowed. He said, "Who is this?" and then said nothing else for a long time. When he finally set the phone down, his hand was shaking. No one there? Emily whispered. Mark nodded. Just humming. What tune? I don't know. But, he looked at the bathroom. At the vent. At the mirror that reflected the bed at a strange angle so it looked like a different room entirely. It got louder when I covered the receiver. The radiator stopped. The building held another breath. The light over the bed dimmed and then, as if a hand turned a dimmer not connected to any switch, brightened again. Under their bed something slid. It was a small sound, the kind furniture makes when pushed a fraction across carpet, but there was no room for furniture to move. Emily grabbed Mark's arm. He reached down with the bravery of someone who makes jokes to keep the dark from noticing him. His fingers found ribbon. He drew out the brass key on its red loop from the darkness under the bed, the same key that had been on the nightstand a moment ago, only now the ribbon was wet, and in the looped bow a neat, careful knot had been tied that hadn't been there before. As he lifted it, the closet door eased itself open exactly an inch, and from inside, from the seam where the door met the frame, came the sound of a woman's voice singing that lullaby, very close and very gentle, as if her lips were pressed to the wood. Don't, Emily whispered, but Mark, trembling, set the wet red key into the tiny lock she hadn't seen before, a flower-shaped keyhole that must always have been there, mustn't it, right at hand height inside the closet door frame. The key slid in like it had been waiting. And from the walls, all around them, as if every seam in the room had been holding back breath for a century, the whisper came at once, not loud but everywhere. Welcome back.